Welcome to ABC24 This Week, and what is one of our favorite shows all year, in keeping with it also being the week of Thanksgiving. My panel and I will share our choices for our coveted Turkey of the Year award, as well as what we're all most thankful for in an eventful 2023. But before we get to that, unfortunately, the Memphis crime problem once again finds itself front and center this week, with state lawmakers actually asking the governor to intervene. And here to talk about all of it on this Sunday is my distinguished panel: Otis Sanford, our political analyst here at ABC24. Susan Edler-Thorpe is a political consultant with Thorpe Communications. Reverend Kenneth Whalum is pastor of the New Olivet Worship Center, and Chris Tudor is former chairman of the Shelby County Republican Party. Our table is full, you guys. Man, we just need to bring out the turkey and some mashed potatoes, and we'll be set to go. Happy Thanksgiving, first of all. Yeah, unfortunately, it's not going to be for a new family to Memphis that moved to Memphis in July. A doctor for St. Jude, his wife and 2-year-old kid, out for a walk on a Sunday evening. There you see him, Alexander Bulikoff. And they've only been here that short period of time. They're out for a walk, and an attempted robbery. He is killed trying to protect his wife, and his daughter gets to see the whole thing. It's one of those crimes that we have too often in this community that just strikes a nerve. Yeah. But then this week, we had a 9-year-old girl who was shot. She's fighting for her life right now as we speak on a Friday afternoon. And the shooting at Topgolf, in which people are posting on social media, yeah, I wondered what the over-under was and how long it was going to take for something to happen there. So crime is front and center once again, and too often is the case. But what was new this week is what we're hearing from the state lawmakers. Brent Taylor, the state senator from Collierville, sending a letter to Governor Lee asking for the state to get involved. The 3 points that he's asking for are unannounced, periodic THP, Tennessee Highway Patrol, surges on state roads and highways. He wants a monitoring team to track Memphis crime court data, and he wants the governor to support efforts by the Republican-led General Assembly to hold the justice system more accountable, including prosecutors. Representative Antonio Parkinson had a response to that, if we could put that on the screen, in which he basically said, look, that's all good, and he actually supported a lot of what Brent Taylor was pushing for, but we also need to apply resources to reduce poverty that will pull people out of a survival mode, he said, where packs of bologna stolen from a convenience store, smash and grab, looks appealing to them. So a lot to unpack there, and we don't want to spend too much time on this because we're not going to solve the crime problem overnight, or certainly on this show. But Otis, why don't you just give me your observations on the efforts by the state lawmakers to...
Well, I do think something has to happen here at that level. Because we have reached almost an epidemic proportion here when it comes to crime. And you laid out a lot of them. But let's go back even further than that with Eliza Fletcher and little Layla Washington, who was sitting in a car and got shot and killed. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. So yes, I welcome one of those proposals that Brent Taylor mentioned about getting more involvement from the Tennessee Highway Patrol, saturating this area in a random way. I'm very supportive of that. But I also agree with Antonio. Other areas other than law enforcement have to be addressed as well.
Well, we all have a role to play, right, in the crime problem. I think we all have to acknowledge that. Maybe too few people have. But let's show the 4 people who really do have a role here. The first being Mayor-elect Paul Young, who's right now just trying to absorb it all, I think, and soak it all in and before he comes out with some kind of platform on that. The police chief, C.J. Davis, whose hands are full, as she has said to me, Memphis is a heavy lift, and probably more than she bargained for. She would be the first to admit it. Steve Mulroy, the DA, who's under fire for being soft on crime, and the judge, the juvenile court judge, Tariq Sugarman, who hasn't really gravitated toward the cameras at all since he's been elected, but is also taking some heat for being soft on crime. In fact, word on the street is they call him Judge Sugar Daddy.
That's right.
It's truth. So, Susan, why don't you talk about the role they have, and as it relates to, you know, we're going to expect a lot of things from this mayor, but he can't really tell the DA what to do or the juvenile court judge what to do.
No, he can't. And I don't think that Paul Young, our mayor-elect, is going to solve our crime problem. So let's get that on the table right now. I think he's going to make every effort to see what he can do about lowering the crime problem. But I think one thing we need to do is honestly, Judge Sugarman has not been part of the conversation because he's purposefully stayed behind the scenes. I am told that the kids all know that if it's a crime against personal property, it's not a problem. The police don't even arrest them anymore because they know they're going to be back out on the street the next day. And I think that if people who commit these crimes don't believe that they're going to have any serious consequences, i.e. Our DA, then they're going to continue to commit these crimes. I'm not suggesting that you go out and suppress all crime and arrest everybody and throw them in jail, but I am suggesting that something has to be done to create an atmosphere here where juveniles and adults who commit these crimes think twice before they have to do it. And one is, let's not forget, the proliferation of guns and the easy access to guns. And I think that has to be top and center. Yes, I have preached on this show before that poverty is an underlying problem for all of this, but we're not going to solve poverty overnight, and we're not going to solve it within the next 4 years. But
Memphis
it's
has always
that
been a poor city.
It's something that has to be addressed, and it has to be addressed also on a state level.
Reverend Whalum, I know you've been an advocate for the National Guard, and actually Senator Taylor brought that up in his letter to the governor, and just to summarize real quick, he said he knows a lot of people are suggesting that, but he feels that's not practical because the National Guard is better at more geographically tight areas to supervise, and they're not trained in police activities such as Miranda rights. Yet, you still think this is the right thing, and talk about it.
I don't think there's any question that it's the right thing to do, and I'm used to putting forth ideas that everybody disagrees with, but that eventually everybody comes around to. But two things. I push back against what Otis said. Otis said that we are almost in an epidemic. No. We're at epidemic. It's not almost. This is a crisis for sure right now.
I agree with
the other thing, Mayor-elect Paul Young said that he wants everybody to deal with crime as if on a pandemic level response. Pandemic level. Well, we're not doing that yet. If we do everything we can do, we're going to bring in the National Guard. Brent Taylor knows it. The mayors know it. That's why they keep ignoring it, because of the look, because of the visual, because of the optics of having the National Guard. Y'all, 30, 40 young, mostly black men are at will overrunning stores. If that's not an epidemic, what is it, man? We've got to do something, and I'm with Susan. Something has got to be done. But nothing is going to be done as long as everybody's keeping their hands off and say, well, no, it ain't that bad yet. It's that bad now.
We love to say, oh, but other cities are dealing with crime too. No, proportionately, not like we are.
The last time the National Guard was summoned to the streets of Memphis that I recall was Martin Luther King. See those pictures? Martin Luther King, 1968. Who was it that caused that uproar? It was young people. It was teenagers. It was members of the Invaders, a gang. They tore up the streets, Beale Street and Main Street, and people were shocked and appalled. But the National Guard had to come in to at least set a tone of order. And I think that's what it's going to take now.
Chris, you're a lifelong Memphian. What are your thoughts?
Just a few thoughts. So first, you're exactly right. Other cities across the country are experiencing a crime wave, but in the past less than 10 years, Memphis has seen an increase, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's almost a 100% increase in property crime and almost a 50% increase in violent crime. I think, Susan, you're right that you break it down into two buckets. What can we do in the short-term public policy to address this issue? And then there's long-term questions about poverty. I think Senator Taylor is exactly right about some of these short-term solutions. I think we've said it a million times on the show. We need more cops. Tennessee Highway Patrol is definitely going to help. I also think the idea of publishing this data is critical. How many arrests and in conviction? What is the time it takes? How is the bail reform actually working? How many people are getting out without posting bail? I think the data, some of that data is out there, some of it's not. It needs to be out there for the citizens to see.
Well, the mayor of Memphis has tried to get at that data.
That's right.
And that's one of his pet peeves is he can't get at it. So he had to.
We need it. The people need it. And I think it must be said at this point. The election in which Steve Mulroy and Judge Sugarman was elected, the reform was a mistake. It was a mistake. It was well-intentioned, but it has blown up, and these are the results. And they ran on it. They told us exactly what they were running, and I think both these gentlemen are good men. They're well-intentioned. It's not a personal attack. They told us what their policies were. They implemented, and we are seeing the bitter fruit of that.
Well, let me suggest something, too.
Make it quick, please.
Okay, make it quick. When Mayor-elect Young decides what he wants to do makes a formal plan, I hope it's not calling together all the best and brightest in Memphis. We've tried that before. We've had those summits before. Go to the cities such as St. Louis and Newark, where the crime problem and they have similar demographics where it's
Camden,
lowering.
New Jersey.
And yes, and bring those people here. Call these mayors, call these leaders. What is it that we need to be doing that we haven't here figured out yet?
If it's
And until
pandemic.
that time, have National Guard in the streets.
I don't agree.
All right, well, that's all we've got time for in this segment. We're going to try and lighten things up a little bit here. Wait till you hear what this panel that's assembled here, who they want to be the winners of this year's Turkey of the Year Awards. I think you'll find it entertaining at the very least. We'll be right back.